All right, welcome on in. Another edition of the Big East Women's Basketball Show. Faith Woodard, Jay Alter with you. We are 10 days away from Wintrust Arena in the Big East Women's Basketball Tournament. Faith, now or never for these teams to find their best play.
I know. I've been really excited about just the end of this season, teams going into the tournament, feeling strong these last couple of games. So I'm excited.
Let's start, as we do every week, before we get into our talking points, with our 5 top plays from the week that was starting with Marquette, Natisha Heidman. She's got unlimited range. This time, it's a 4-point play, 3 plus the contact for the Golden Eagles in the win. Number 4, it was a career high for Alicia KB on the offensive side, but bringing the defense as well, swat from behind, making things happen for the Red Storm. This one, step back, Deanna White, cold-blooded.
My girl Deanna, always there for that three-point shot. Look at her.
Perfect way to end the half. We'll have more from this game later. DePaul Villanova on FS1. Great take. Gotta love it. Amara Coleman, one of the best players in the conference, showing why. And number 1, an upset in Chicago. Game winner, offensive rebound for 2. Morgan Smith wins it for the Hoyas. That's the result of the year for Jimmy Howard in year 1 for Georgetown. Last final seconds and a clutch shot from your former teammate.
That is the best I think I've ever seen Georgetown play. I mean, that game, they just really came with it. Morgan Smith, that was a good game.
And that's where we start with our top 5 things you need to know. That game that really shocked the Big East college basketball world. And Deanna White, 33 points, the Big East Player of the Week for good reason. What a performance.
Yeah, she really carried that team. I mean, Deanna just really elevated her game this season. She's gotten so much stronger. She finishes well around the rim, and she just really carried this team. Averaging 30 points, that's insane. She just really got it done for Georgetown this week.
And what was she like when you played with her, and how have you seen her grow since the year you've left the program?
She's always been a strong shooter, but it seems like she's really elevated her game. She's really, much more consistent from the 3. She's having a good shooting average from field goal, and she's just really elevated her game, and she's playing smart basketball.
Fox Sports' LaChina Robinson, who will be on the call of the Big East Women's Basketball Tournament, joining us in a few minutes. And it's really interesting because I was working with her on Friday night, and she said the team that really has the most athleticism and can bring it on any given night is Georgetown.
Yeah, it's hard to play against Georgetown. Yes, they've had a couple of games here and there where it hasn't turned out in their favor, but Georgetown's one of those teams you always have to keep your eye on them, because if they get streaky, if they get hot, they're tough to match up against.
Another team finding form at the right time of the season, the Creighton Blue Jays. Jim Flannery and his team, a 4-game winning streak after wins against Butler and Xavier over the weekend. This is the time that you want to find your best basketball. We said it at the top of the show, and Creighton doing just that.
Yeah, Creighton's been really consistent throughout this season. Faber and players like Green and Agnew have really been leading the way for this team. They've been doing really well in overtime play and just really playing good basketball so far, and just, really getting it done. They are really consistent. They haven't lost too many games to, where other teams have upset them. So I can definitely see why they're a top competitor in this conference.
And another team, again, I feel like a broken record, but that is finding form at the time you want to is St. John's. Joe Tartamella, everything coming together. He's got a young team in Queens, but as we look to our 3rd point on this Big East Women's Basketball Show, St. John's, they are making things happen. Alicia KB, a career high in the win against Seton Hall.
Yeah, this is definitely a game that they had on their list. Last time these two teams matched up, they ended up losing to Seton Hall, but you can just tell players like Hoppy and other players really had this game on their calendar. They really probably came into this game with a chip on their shoulder with something to prove, and so many of their players scored in double figures, so this was just a great game.
And really a wire-to-wire win for St. John's. Coming up for them, DePaul and Marquette. If they could split or win both of those games, they're right in the NCAA tournament conversation.
Yeah, if you want to get in the NCAA tournament, those are the teams in this conference that you're going to have to beat. And it will be tough because Marquette and DePaul have been consistently really great teams, but you saw Georgetown compete with them this past weekend. So I definitely think that they can do it.
So as we enter the final week in the Big East women's basketball regular season, let's take a look at our standings as point number 4, because while there are only a couple of games left, it's close. Seeding is not yet determined. And at the top, DePaul and Marquette, they're fighting for it, both at 13-3.
Yeah, you have DePaul and Marquette who, there's no surprise there. They've been consistent throughout this season. But you have St. John's and Seton Hall and Georgetown right there who can really make moves to just really advance themselves in this standing. So I think with these last couple of games, it'll be good for them.
Well, and you want to finish in the top 6, right? Avoid the bottom 4 in playing on the first day of the Big East women's basketball tournament. Right now, Georgetown, because of that win against DePaul, Seton Hall has to play the Blue Demons and the Golden Eagles of Marquette coming up. Georgetown with an opportunity to move up and get out of that bottom 4, and that is really crucial, not having to play that first day of the tournament.
It really is. That's what all the coaches are talking about. You don't want to play that first game because it takes so much out of you. You want to be fresh. You want to have your legs good to go against those games that are really going to put you in a good position to win that championship game. You want to be fresh. You want to be able to play your best basketball in that tournament.
Big East tournament returning to Chicago in the brand new Wintrust Arena. That is our 5th point. I can't believe it. It is almost here, 10 days away. Faith, what is your key point as we head in to March Madness and the Big East tournament?
I just think teams need to stay focused and just stay consistent. You can't let the fact that it's March Madness and all that gets you rowdy. The Big East tournament, yes, it's exciting, but the team that stays poised and consistent and just really plays their basketball that they've played throughout this season, that's going to be the team that really gets it done and just is able to really hang on going into March Madness.
As the Big East women's basketball tournament approaches, we thought we would bring in an expert. She will be on the call with Lisa Byington for Fox Sports. It's LaChina Robinson. And LaChina, you've got to be thrilled to have Lisa back in the broadcast booth after you had to deal with an absolute hack Friday night in Queens.
You were great, Jay. I'm just glad that for this chat today, you got the best half of the Boo Crew. And you can tell Lisa I said that.
That's awesome. Okay, let's talk hoops. You got a good look at St. John's, a team that's kind of finding form at the right time as we head into the Big East tournament. Who are some other teams that you think are playing their best basketball right now at the most important time in the season?
Yeah, well, I'll start with St. John's since you mentioned them. It's interesting in watching this journey. We started off the season saying this may be the most talented offensive team we've ever seen in terms of balance for St. John's, but they weren't quite what we were used to seeing on the defensive end. Well, all that has changed. They are back to old form, #1 in the league in field goal percentage defense. I've just been really impressed, especially with the sophomore Alicia Cady. She's come on strong. And then I hope one thing we remember is that they want to stretch without Akina Walaire. And I think that rocked them a little bit in terms of how do they play without her. And just finding that consistency once she was back. But Singleton has been great, and I just think this team is gelling at the right time.
Another team that we were talking about was Georgetown, a team that we thought had a good chance to steal one this weekend. They did. They beat DePaul. Huge win for the Hoyas as they look to climb up the Big East standings. Are they a team that could play spoiler in Chicago?
They are a dangerous team, Jay. I mean, every coach in this league that I talk to says, we are not looking forward to playing Georgetown. What a job by James Howard this year, whether it's Cynthia Petke and her improvements. I mean, 8+ points per game, her field goal percentage up, rebounds up. Deanna White obviously has been fantastic. This is a team that plays extremely hard. When Georgetown comes to the building, you're going to have a battle on your hands. So there's definitely a great opportunity. And Georgetown would be my surprise team to make it all the way to the Big East Tournament Championship.
Wow. There it is, LaChina Robinson putting the Hoyas as her sleeper for the Big East tournament. Let's talk about individuals. At one point, through 10 weeks in conference play, it was 10 different players for 10 Player of the Week awards. Who is going to end up with this Player of the Year award?
Well, Jay, as hard as it's been, I've narrowed it down to 2 players that have really caught my eye. My front runner for Player of the Year is Alizea Blockton for Marquette. Her numbers blow me away. At 6 foot on the wing, she is at 54% field goal percentage, which is a number you usually only see for post players. 19 points per game in league play, which is number 2. I just think she's been fantastic, very consistent. And the scary part is she hasn't even reached her ceiling of potential. So this is a player that could break out really at any moment, but she's my front runner. The sleeper and a player that I think we don't talk about enough is Kelly Campbell of DePaul. I'm blown away by her numbers this year. When you look across the board, her contributions, she's double figures in scoring. She is also, keep this in mind, at 5'10", second in the league in rebounding at 10 a game. So she's averaging a double-double. Oh, yeah, and she's first in assists. So what in the Russell Westbrook is happening when this young woman is almost averaging a triple-double every night? So Kelly Campbell would be the other player that's right there with Blockton for Player of the Year.
So you just mentioned DePaul's Kelly Campbell and Marquette's Alizea Blockton. Those two teams comfortably in the NCAA tournament fields right now as we look at bracketology and the NCAA tournament come March. Villanova and Creighton, I also feel like are very comfortable. Are those 4 teams, you think, the 4 that are going to end up representing the Big East in the NCAA tournament?
Those teams right now, based on the numbers, have the strongest argument. Villanova, as of today, is 23. DePaul's 29 in RPI. Marquette's 30. Creighton's 42. Those are numbers you really can't debate with. St. John's is the team that's kind of on the bubble, I would say. They're a 55 RPI. Now, the important thing for St. John's is they end their schedule with Marquette and DePaul at home. So what a great opportunity to raise their RPI, to show that they're playing their best basketball. They've already won 4 out of their last 5. So this is a really important stretch here of the regular season. And obviously St. John's will also need to have a strong showing in the Big East tournament just to make sure that things are square.
Well, I know there's only limited amount of time left, but still a lot of things to be determined. Seeding will be determined this coming weekend, and then you've got a lot of fun ahead of you in Chicago. Before we let you go, you've done the Big East tournament the last couple of years. What is your favorite part each and every first weekend of March as February turns to March, getting together and doing the Big East tournament?
Yeah, well, obviously it's seeing all the fans come together, right? So everyone representing the different schools, we get to hang out with all the different mascots. You know, we've got great Big East representation there from the league office, people that help us like yourself all year to be great. Can't leave out John Fanta, who is someone that we look forward to hanging out to. But just the level of competition, you know, I think this league is in a great place. When you look over the last few years, first 2 years, only 2 teams in the tournament. Last couple of years, 3. Projected to get 4 in, possibly 5 this year. The Big East is really solidifying itself as a strong league. When you look at league RPI, they were right up there with the other top 5 conferences in the country. So it's just great basketball, and I just can't wait to see who takes home the crown.
Us too, LaChina. Thanks so much for sharing the knowledge, and we can't wait to see you out in Chicago for another Big East women's basketball tournament.
Thanks for having me, Jay. Appreciate your work all year. Thank you for doing this.
And we've got quite the atmosphere tonight and quite the matchup. The Big East Women's Basketball Trophy awaits.
The team that is more confident tonight will walk away with that Big East trophy.
Heideman's got a hustle. Lets it fly from half court. Yes!
This is our time. That's the Big East way. The Big East Women's Basketball Tournament at Wintrust Arena. Get tickets now.
I'll tell you what, you watch that ticket spot, I never get tired of watching that Heideman half-court shot in a Big East final. You never know what's going to happen during the Big East Women's Basketball Tournament.
Yeah, Heideman is always one of those players that, like, surprisingly, she'll shoot it from behind the 3 really far, half-court. It really doesn't matter. She's a sharpshooter, and she's going to make it tough.
So we've got our upcoming schedule, the slate for the final week of the Big East women's basketball season. Friday night, DePaul at St. John's, Marquette at Seton Hall. 2 really good games there. And then Creighton at Georgetown Friday at 11 o'clock on the Big East Digital Network. Also a really good matchup.
I think so. Creighton and Georgetown, that's an opportunity for Georgetown to put their target on another one of these top teams and see if they can get it done. But that Creighton and Villanova game is also one that's going to be really good.
You can catch all the games on the Big East Digital Network, and then Sunday, 2 o'clock, Creighton at Villanova, that game on Fox Sports 1. Man, this Big East women's basketball season has flown right on by. Faith has been a huge addition to the Big East Digital Network team to help us break it down. We've still got one last show left, and we promised everybody we would do a little one-on-one or a half-court heave contest.
Now that it's hot, I
was
mean,
gonna
we
say,
have no excuse.
75 degrees today. We probably missed our window,
I
but we will
know.
make sure to do it before we say goodbye for a final time a week from today. So you're going down in the next week.
You're going down. Like, I'm telling you, it's going to be real.
All right, going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us again on another Big East Women's Basketball Wednesday. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the games. Final week of the regular season in Big East Women's Hoops.